Hey everybody, this is Sleek Buccaneer. I'm back with this dry voice of mine, not my drug voice. It's an inside joke between me and another YouTuber. But so today I'm just kind of getting out my overall feelings for this Traitor business because I have some serious beef with it. But it's not like I'm angry at the series because of it. It's more like it doesn't. It's not really necessary to have it, but I mean that's just my opinion. Now, first, let me do a quick shout out to, I believe it was Shingles who brought this up. So, Shingles a little while ago asked me who I thought the traitor was, and he thought it was, Luxu or the Master of Masters, which that's kind of everybody's opinion. Everybody pretty much thinks that it's the Master of Masters because he has this obvious, how should I put it? He has this obvious pattern that he follows. Like, he sets everybody up for failure. He wants this war to happen. He disappears specifically just to see what happens out of his own curiosity or whatever. The only problem I really have with him being the traitor is he has no reason to betray the entire planet, basically, because it's only the one world, and he makes these projections of other smaller worlds from the future. So it's kind of like, it makes no real sense for him to be a traitor. But I mean, I'm looking at this from a different perspective though, because when I look at the Kingdom Hearts series, I look at it from a story writer's perspective, not really, how can I put this? Not really a gamer's perspective. Because I mean, for a gamer, you're only given what you're given, and that's it. You can only make theories based on that. You can try to use external sources to link up to things, which is kind of what most theorists do. We link up, different things to try to justify some of the stuff that goes on in certain media, and that's kind of what game theorists do also. They just link up different things. But see, my opinion on the traitor, really, to be honest, I don't think it's Luxu. Matter of fact, it's not even I don't think. I'm pretty sure it's not Luxu. And I'm like really up there on being pretty sure it's not the Master of Masters. I'm not going to say that it is or it isn't really. But just in my overall opinion, I truly don't believe it's the Master of Masters at all. I think it's somebody else. And actually, I want to shout out to somebody else. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I think it's dagadbm. Well, I'll spell it out. It's dagadbm. I recently commented on this other video by, I think it was Weeb Hut Jr. They were saying that, dude, the Master of Masters is clearly evil. I mean, there's nothing, you can't like go around this. He's not a good guy or whatever. I mean, my comment on that was, I really can't argue whether he's good or not, because really what he is in the story is going to be based on, to me, when he got his foresight abilities, because that really determines all the patterns and everything that he does. Because I mean, the major thing behind him is he has this ability to see into the future. Most people aren't born with that power. There aren't that many stories that I know of, maybe aside from Cyborg 009 with the little baby, but even then I don't think he had powers to see in the future. I think he had something else. But when you have that kind of a power, there's a certain time where you got that power. Either it was kind of like Terra, where he got it at a young adult age, but he didn't realize that that's what it was. Or, you get it further on in your life. You don't just get it like way, way young. Going into the future is not something I've seen a child get ever. Usually people who are able to see into the future like that, or on that kind of a scale, they don't just get that power out of nowhere as a child. They get that over time, some kind of way. So that's kind of where I am with it. Like, I can't say whether he's good or evil because I don't know when he got that ability. They don't say when he did. Because, I mean, my whole thing is, I really do truly believe that he was the original protector of Kingdom Hearts, because he's the one who, number one, can make Keyblades. When I commented on Weeb Hut Jr.'s video, I said that. I mean, I can't argue that he's good or evil because of the foresight thing. So, the YouTuber, dagadbm, let me know if I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm sorry. But he was saying that it's all a lie and the Master of Masters doesn't have any powers. He just wanted a Keyblade War for unknown reasons. But that doesn't explain the eye stuff. So in a video that I made previously where I explained like the possible origins, I'm not saying that it's exact, just that it's possible. But what I said was that Kingdom Hearts gave him his abilities. Because unless there was a Keyblade War before the one that we see, he has no reason to start a war. He has no reason to start a war, and no one can use a Keyblade or make them other than him. So it doesn't make any sense for him to want to do any of that. Which is why I'm like, no, I mean, he has powers, obviously. He makes Keyblades and stuff. And, he's able to make the projection of worlds from the future because of his foresight. That's a power. That's not Keyblade. Not every Keyblade wielder has that. But here's my beef overall with it, though. Because, see, with me, like, I read a lot. Like, I used to read a lot. Like, I read comic books. I read manga books. I read, just novels, regular novels, fiction and nonfiction. So, I mean, I'm a heavy reader. Throughout most of like the stuff that I read, most people that have the ability of foresight got that power through some means. And that's kind of what I'm seeing, really. I'm seeing it as he had to have gotten that power some kind of way. He didn't just get it or just was born with it. He didn't just magically have it. Somebody gave him that. He must have had, even if he didn't have a master, like a master of like Keyblades, he might have had a master of weaponry or something else. So, I mean, he had to have potential. So he had to have been a good person before. He couldn't just be one. I mean, he couldn't just be evil even back then. Like, evil, you're not born evil. Yeah, that's really my overall beef. My overall beef with it is when he got that power. So the reason why I say I have some beef with that is because, really, he wrote this book of prophecies, right? So he's saying that from the time he writes that book up till he disappears, up till the Keyblade gets passed down from person to person to person, he wrote all that stuff to happen. So if he knows that a war is coming, and apparently Ira's the only one who could really make out what he wrote, because no one else really reads it, there has to be some chapter in there that explains how he chose the Foretellers. He couldn't have just wrote that after choosing his apprentices. That's my thing. That's really where my beef is. Is like, if he got it before he met any of his apprentices, like before he picked Ira to be Ira, before he picked Ava to be Ava, before he picked Aced to be Aced, it's like, that means he already knew what he was doing from then. Not that he was setting this up while, like, the few days before he even gave them the book. That's impossible. Assuming if he got it after he met them, then that means, he rushed that. He didn't think that part through. Like, there's something that, I don't know, there's just something that's not right about that. And really, it starts with the Foretellers. It really doesn't start with what he's doing. Because, I mean, what he's doing, if he just wants a war to happen, then he just wants the war to happen, I guess, to see how it works out. Disregarding all that, I really don't think the Master of Masters is the traitor. Honestly, I truly believe he doesn't actually know who the traitor is either. I think he only saw that the person wears a sigil. Like, the thing with Union Cross, there's too many mysteries and too many people that are, like, lost in shadow. If he sees the end of the world before he chooses his apprentices, then yes, he's evil. Because, he's leading everything up to that. He's not trying to stop it. But if he saw it, the end of the world after he picked his apprentices, then there's nothing there's literally nothing he can do at that point, because the stuff is already happening. That's it. There has to be a certain point when he got that power, and there has to be a certain point when he chose his apprentices. So those two times, that's really what's dictating whether he's evil or good. And that's why I say I don't think he's the traitor. You got to rule that out until those two things come up. If those two things don't come up and it just is like, oh yeah, he really was a traitor this whole time, then that's just poor storytelling in my opinion, and that didn't need to happen, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And my thing with Luxu is, I mean, I've looked through Key. I didn't look through all the cutscenes, but I looked through part of Key. I'm still going through Unchained, and I'd watch back cover a number of times. I think that's why everyone thinks Luxu is a traitor, because he's like gone, but in the movie it says he was gone before anything even started. Before the Master disappeared, before the Foretellers, got all their roles or whatever, before he spoke to the Foretellers. He was out. So he has no reason to betray anyone if he's out. And even when the Master of Masters told him that he had to leave, you can hear it in Luxu's voice. He really didn't want to leave them behind. He wanted to stay. So, if you're a traitor doesn't care whether you're hurt or not. A friend would care. So, that's why I kind of say Luxu isn't the traitor, because really, he cared. Watch that scene over. You can hear it in his voice. He was like hesitant on it. So, and even with his role, I don't really think Luxu wanted that role. He's like the only one who's really, I guess, I can feel suspicion from. Because everyone else kind of just goes along with him and they don't really think about it. But he's the only one who's like really questioning what he's up to. Even when he tells Ava like the truth, I stand by that. I don't think he was supposed to tell Ava anything. I don't think he was supposed to tell anyone anything. But the fact that she found him or somebody found him and he was able to say it, to me that means, he really does not want what's happening to happen either. So it's like none of the foretellers want what's happening to happen. So none of them are really the traitor. Luxu isn't either, because he cared about the foretellers and he really didn't want them hurt, and you can hear it in his voice, or you can see it in his actions too. He really didn't want to do any of it, and he questioned the Master. So he's out. But I do think that the traitor is more than likely a dandelion or someone that survived the war. I'm more than sure that that's who it is. My only concern is I still wouldn't know. I still don't know who that could be, because there's so many dandelions, and I'm not sure if it is one of the leaders, because if it turns out that it is Blaine or that it is Laurium, well, first of all, why? Why would they do that? So, there's that. I'm also kind of leaning towards, this is going to be in the theory video too, but I said before that Vanitas is not really the darkness in Ven's heart, but the thing that he's hiding. Like, I think Ventus is really hiding Vanitas. Like, he's hiding that, like, okay, when you see him in Birth by Sleep, or when you know like a little bit about his past in terms of Birth by Sleep, not Union Cross, in terms of Birth by Sleep. So he was very adamant about not using the darkness, right? So my guess is that he was really trying to hide Vanitas. He was really trying to hide that dark part. He didn't want that out. So I'm not sure if that's because he knows that his darkness is that strong or not. Because, okay, in Key, you have to fight your Nightmare Tirthi, right? I'm guessing that the Nightmare Tirthi is like stupid strong. So if the player's Tirthi or your Tirthi, your Nightmare Tirthi, is strong enough to probably kill you a couple times before you finally defeat it, what do you think Ben's darkness is capable of doing? So, that's what I'm saying. It could be like it could be a whole nother player with like a strong Nightmare Tirthi, or it could just be a Nightmare Tirthi. I don't know. But that's what I think the traitor is. I don't think the traitor is among any of the circles that we're seeing. I don't think he's part of the Foreteller group. Don't think he's Luxu. Don't think he's really the Master of Masters. I'm not quite convinced that it's anyone in the Dandelion leader group, but I am pretty sure that it might be somebody in the Dandelions, or someone who survived the war. That's what I'm guessing, that's who the traitor is, really. Yeah, but you could let me know in the comment section whether you like this kind of discussion thing. I do have plans to make a discussion series, but not quite. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna let you guys go. I do have to work on this new project for work, so I will go ahead and check you guys later.